You have to be present to win. Oh, Michelle DeBerge. I don't think she's here. Is she here? No? Okay. Let's do another one. Just to get your exercise. Donna Good. Is she here? Okay, one more.
Don't sit down.
That's what I didn't say.
Amber Watkins. Okay, come on up. I don't know if it's come on up or come on down, but. There you go. Congratulations. Okay, so now we have a real treat in store for you. As I mentioned, Rick Frishman, not only is he one of my favorite people in business, he's so generous and he's so smart, and he has worked in an industry that does not foster that for a very long time. So I think he's one of the unique individuals in business, particularly in publishing and in books. And he has been a bestseller, publisher, founder of Author 101 University, and as I mentioned earlier, he will be your host for the next 3 days if you can stay over and attend Author 101 here in the same location. And with him he has Jim Howard, who is the publishing director of Morgan James. I mentioned earlier that David Hancock was supposed to be attending and sharing his wisdom with you, but unfortunately he had a family illness and he needed to be by his wife, which is the correct priority, obviously. So we welcome Rick and Jim.
Hello. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Oh, this is a good crowd. I love it. All right. I'm Rick Frishman. I'm the short one. And
I was wondering why you were standing down there.
Because I'm even shorter here. You stay down there. Now we are even.
There we go.
Hey. There we go. This is Jim Howard. And I'm much older than Jim. So.
But I'm a grandfather.
That's right. But he's a granddad. He has a two-year-old.
Two-year-old, that's right.
So we're going to have a fun time. How many of you, I'm just trying to get an idea, are already published? Raise your hand. Wow, almost everyone. How cool. How many of you have been self-published either with Viki or print on demand or you know, in that type of genre? Raise your hand. Just about everyone. How many of you have been published by a hybrid or a traditional publisher? And we'll talk about that. A few. Now, we actually have a few authors. We published The Senator, my good friend here, his book, and how many of you are thinking about getting a book published but haven't done it yet and have no idea what you want to write about and just are here because you're trying to figure it out? Anybody? What? Don't be shy. Raise your hand. Okay, we got a few. That's good. Okay. So, all right. It's good. Just briefly, I'm going to Jim talk. I started in publishing and PR in 1976, so this is my 39th year of doing this. Mr. Harper and Mr. Rowe just started their company when I did it. And I had the biggest book PR company in America called Plan TV Arts, and launched folks like Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen, Nicholas Sparks, T. Harv Eker. Most of them was Barbara Taylor Bradford, Barbara DeAngelis. Most of the folks I'm mentioning were unknown until we started doing publicity and marketing with them. So they were in the exact same position that you are. And then I actually wanted to be an author as well, since I was handling all these authors. And I assure you, I am the crappiest writer in this room. Okay. In fact, I'm the crappiest writer in America, but I have, where is it? You always have your book with you. I have 18 books out. This is my 18th book. Hey. And I have sold hundreds of thousands of books, and I don't even know how to write. But I do know how to promote. So we're going to, obviously the next 3 days, we're going to teach you about marketing and promoting. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to do it for little or no money. Does that sound good? Yeah. Little or no money. My book, Guerrilla Publicity, is all teaching people how to get publicity on a shoestring budget. And I think Jill Lublin may be here. She's my co-author. So we're going to teach you some of that today, and of course a lot of that in the next 3 days at Author 101. How many of you, I know we keep asking this, we have hundreds of people in this room, that's for the camera, thousands of people right here. And so you don't see them all, but I'm looking at them here. And only a few have actually pre-registered. So hopefully a whole bunch of you will be staying and registering throughout the day and being with us the next 3 days right underneath us in the grand ballroom. We have editors and agents and marketing people. Anyone ever hear JJ Virgin? Yeah. Okay. So we started working with her. She's #1 New York Times bestseller. She'll be speaking and talking about how she became #1 New York Times bestseller. And lots of other folks who've sold, become #1 bestsellers, Peggy McCall, other folks. But you have the opportunity of meeting literary agents and editors and other people that can help you. So that's just a little bit about what you're going to be hearing. Now I'm going to give it to Jim to tell you his story. And he is our actually publishing director at Morgan James Publishing. So Jim, take it away, and I'm going to sit here.
All right. I've got to follow that, so how awesome is that? How many of you want to be in my spot where you can stand up and come up behind Rick after he's told you all the incredible things he's done? And then here's Jim. No, seriously. Seriously. But I do want to start with this, and I was listening to Senator Raines earlier and him telling his story. And I got to tell you, it's an honor to work with the company that published his book and work with him on his book. And we were just talking a little bit ago, and it's been just great to be a part of being able to help someone get their message out there. Because as authors, and all of you raised your hands, or most of you raised your hands when you said you were already authors. As authors, sometimes you'll never know the impact of the message that you're producing until way later. You don't know who you're affecting many times. But I can guarantee you one thing, you are affecting people, and you are having a positive impact. So before I go into Morgan James and get Rick back up here, I just wanted to tell you a little story of how I even became to meet Rick. And it's a journey that I kind of went through, and it all started with a book. So is it okay if I share that with you today? Yes. So maybe 25 years ago, running a commercial print shop. Had nothing to do with authors, nothing to do with books. Just commercial print. We printed posters and internal communications and all the things you would normally think. But we knew one thing. We knew that if we didn't do something different, we would be just like every other printer. And if you ever know anything about printing, you know there's a print shop on every corner. There's 4 or 5 in every town. So there's a lot of competition for printers. And we had to do something different. So through that understanding, we found a book. And this book was called Guerrilla Marketing. Has anybody ever heard of guerrilla marketing? Right? J. Conrad Levinson, and this was one of the early editions of Guerrilla Marketing. Well, in that book, and by going through that, we had this idea to create a program that literally taught people how to market their business with postcards. And why did we do that? Because in the book, Jay talked about sometimes the best way to get there is just to build something for a market that doesn't even exist yet. But if you build that market and then that market's attracted to it, then guess what? You're naturally the one who can support that market. So we said, well, what's our best product? It's postcards. So we created this program called Marketing with Postcards. Now through that, we had no idea what internet was. That was back when internet was just starting. Put up a website. We didn't know anything about internet marketing. We put a picture of it up. We did some copy about it. And all of a sudden, we got a phone call from a guy in New York who was an ad copywriter, who was looking for a product because he wanted to step out of ad copy and start becoming more into internet marketing. Now, this guy's name was Alex Mendozian. Has any of you ever heard of Alex Mendozian? Right? Now, you guys probably know him as this big internet guru. I knew him as Alex Mendozian, guy who wrote copy for Super Smiles, which was a toothpaste company in New York. So we met, and he comes down and he says, hey, I know internet marketing, I know copy, I can market the product where you lack. You can fulfill the product, and we'll both win. So let's do something called a JV. Anybody heard of JVs? It's fairly new back then, and as a printer, we don't JV. But guerrilla marketing said JV, so that's what we did. So we hooked up with Alex, and he started doing that. Well, the reason he was so interested in our product was because he was going to a seminar and was asked to speak on stage, but he needed a product to sell, and he had no product. So that seminar was put on by someone named Armin Morin. Have any of you ever heard of Armin Morin? Armin Morin is like the guru of gurus when it comes to internet marketing, and he was starting what was then the big seminar, which went on to be one of the longest running internet marketing seminars in the world. So Alex then was going to Armin's because of a product that we created because of a book. Now we'll fast forward just a little bit more, and when we shut our print shop down, we knew we wanted to do something that continued, my wife and I. We wanted to do something that would continue to help people, one, but something we could do together because we had worked together our entire marriage so far. So we thought back and we said, where can we go get ideas? Oh, well, Alex spoke at this big seminar. It's still going on. Let's go to big seminar. So we go to big seminar. Now, here's the funny story, and this is where kind of Rick starts to get involved, is that I'm at this marketing event. Now, I'm a printer. Let's not forget that. I don't go and share ideas. I don't go to events and meet people. We keep to ourselves because we don't share. So I have no idea what to expect. We just shut our print shop down. We're looking into our future. And how many of you ever been on a threshold of something new in your life and you're excited and nervous and scared and have no idea what that next step is, but you're taking a step and you're hoping it's the right step? Right? Absolutely. All of us have been there. Well, that was me. So I'm standing in the front of this area waiting for the doors to open. Doors don't open until 10. I'm there at 9:30, and I'm standing there like, I don't know what I'm getting out of this, but it's going to be cool. All of a sudden, the doors open up at 10 o'clock. This guy steps through with his loud voice, and he says, "Welcome to Big Seminar." And he approaches me with arms spread this wide, and he grabs me, and he hugs me. And he doesn't let go. And he's smiling. And I'm thinking, okay, what event did I come to? That man who greeted me that day was David Hancock, who started Morgan James Publishing. At that time, he was just 2 years or a year and a half into Morgan James and was good friends with Armand and was helping him with that event so that he could get connected with people to help his company grow. So we met. And then a few years later, because of some ideas that my wife and I had about branding, we connected, and then I was brought into David's company. And then through David's company, of course, several years ago, I meet Rick, and who doesn't fall in love with Rick the minute you meet him? And we've been, you know, really good friends and worked together ever since. And I want to tell you that story because that whole journey is why I'm here today. It's why I'm in the industry of helping authors. It's why Morgan James even started. It's why we do what we do today. And it all started because of an idea that came from a book. Now, this story has a very, very cool ending. And what happens is, just a couple of years ago, I found myself at dinner across from J. Conrad Levinson celebrating his 79th birthday. And on his birthday, we're having dinner. It's just me, David, and Jay and his wife, Jeannie. And I look over at Jay and I tell him that same story. And he sits back and he says, "You know, that is circuitous." And we all laughed, and Jeannie poked him in the ribs. He said, "Jay, that's so funny." She said, "Jay, that's so funny. You always make up these really clever words." And Jay said, "No, that's a word. And I think I used it properly." And we looked it up, and sure enough, circuitous means starting at one point, meandering around, and coming back to the same point. And there I was, 20-some years later, with the author of the book who started the entire journey. And I can say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that each and every one of you who have written a book, or who are going to write a book, are about to impact and change someone's life in a way that you can't even imagine. So I both congratulate you and thank you for being who you are, and hope that as you start to move forward, that this week, throughout this weekend, talk with me, talk with Rick, anything that we can do to help you along your journey, it's certainly something that we want to do, regardless of if you're already published, how you publish, who you publish with, none of that matters. What matters is that you have a message, and that message needs to be heard. So thank you first and foremost for that. Thank you, guys. So, Rick, that's my story for now. Why don't I turn it back over to you for a few minutes?
Back to the book and how I met David Hancock, and it all came down to the book. I told you I'm the crappiest writer. My first book, a guy named Michael Larson. Anyone ever hear Michael Larson? literary agent in San Francisco. A good friend said, hey, you should have a book. And I said, but Michael, I can't write. He said, that's okay, you can talk. And what I realized, I'm going to tell you how I write my books, is that, you know, any of you ever get writer's block? Oh, come on, you do. And the reason is it starts here, and then all this stuff happens when you're trying to get here, you got all this crap in between here and here, nothing comes out. But there's not that much stuff between here and here. So you can talk to your book real easy, and that's what I teach people to do. So I just started talking my book and doing it with Michael Larson, and he interviewed me. And our first book came out in 2000 called Guerrilla Marketing for Writers. And which was, it's like, wow, I've been doing publicity for like 20-something years, and now I had this book come out, Guerrilla Marketing for Writers, and all of a sudden the media wanted to start talking to me. And all of a sudden I'm on radio and TV and all over because the media looks at me as an expert because I had a book. Fast forward, turns out David Hancock had gotten that book, and he read it, and he said, wow, this guy's really something. And I met David at Big Seminar, and he was like afraid to talk to me because I was